What's going on, everybody? I know it's been quite some time since I got a video out for you. This year has just been unbelievably busy. My workload has just been more than I can handle, and I've just not had time to do videos like I really want to. Hopefully with the weather starting to cool off, things will slow down for me, or typically they slow down for me. And hopefully I can actually get some content recorded for you guys and actually have time to edit it and put it out for you. But today I got a real quick one for you. Say 2016 Ford Fusion, and the customer concern is they bought it from an auction with a bad engine. I don't have any idea what's wrong with the engine. They just put this engine in here and they said they drove it, it was running great, and then all of a sudden it just kind of like started stumbling like it was running out of gas and died. And then they said they could get it to crank back every now and then and it would run, same thing, it would drive for just a little bit and then stumble and die. And it's kind of a thing that's been happening with it, and they got it over here to me to where I could figure out what's causing this, because even though they said it stumbles like it's running out of gas, live data showed that it had good fuel pressure. So let's see what we can figure out with this thing. So on this vehicle, there's not a lot of help. Up pre-scan, I had a bunch of low voltage codes, but because the battery was dead from cranking on it, but trying to get this thing to run, there was no codes setting in the PCM. They said the same thing. They always scanned it. They never found any codes setting in the PCM either. So definitely no help with code setting. Now let me show you what this thing does. If I can get in here. So you see we got gauge, shows fuel, but if we take and push the button, it's just going to spin over and not run. So that's their issue, or that's what the issue is I've got now. Now, like I said, I got to do this quick because I'm still busy. I don't have a whole lot of time. I've went through this thing, live data, verified, yes, it does show fuel pressure. I verified the data shows that the timing correlation should be correct. I then used the Pico, and I also verified the cam crank timing is actually dead on. It's great, it's perfect. So I'm not concerned about timing at all. So then it's like, what are we missing? Are we missing spark, fuel? What's going on here? So I then wanted to check commands. Do I have injector command and do I have ignition coil command? And I did. So then it's like, okay, well, if I've got commands, that doesn't actually mean they are operating. So the scope capture you're fixing to see, here's my connections. I've still got the blue channel, it's still on the crank. So it's not really, I just haven't took it loose. We've got a cam sensor, which is the intake cam. And then I've got my coil command and my coil power. So green is coil power. Let's see what's going on with this thing. Let's show you guys the waveform. We're gonna crank it and show the waveform. And you guys are going to comment down in the comments what's going on with this thing, what's wrong with it. So here we go, we got the scope running. Hopefully if I got my screen capture and all correct, you guys will see all this. If not, oh well. But let's crank this thing and see what is happening. So okay, go back over here and we'll zoom in and see what's happening here. Now remember, our yellow trace is our coil command. Our green trace is our coil power. That's kind of odd. If we get a voltage cursor down here, you can see we've got 11.6 there. But every time a coil commands to fire, we've got some voltage drop here. Leave me down in the comments, what do you think's wrong with this thing? Now, looking at our wiring diagram, since you guys have answered in the comments what's wrong with it, hopefully we'll see that you're correct. We can look at the wiring diagram. This is in the PCM diagrams. We can see that our coil power is being fed by fuse 11, which is a 15 amp fuse. And it says it's hot in start or run. And it also has this little call out F for where to see it in this other diagram. This diagram 24-1. That's where we want to actually be, is 24-1. So clicking the hyperlink takes us over there. Here's our F. Okay. And you can see we've got a PCM power relay. Now, if this contact right here was going bad and couldn't carry a load, that'd be a thing that would cause this kind of voltage drop. And that is what I'm suspecting. So now I'm going to find this relay, and I'm just going to change it real fast and see what happens. I've got the fuse box diagram pulled up of all the fuses and relays in the underhood fuse box, or battery junction box, what Ford calls this thing. And we are looking for this PCM power relay. It is R9. So let's go out here and look at this thing. We've got R9 right there, which is this guy right here. Now, this is a little bit different of a relay than I normally have, but I did find one in my spares that kind of should work. This one's still a high power relay, just like what these say. So you can see high power, blah blah blah. Don't actually know what I pulled this out of, but let's stick this thing in here and see what happens. It's gonna fix it. I hope so. So let's go back over to our PicoScope, and you see we was dropping down to about 2.5, 3 volts roughly. Let's start the scope and we'll crank the car. Oh, that wasn't it. We still got that voltage drop. I had y'all zoomed in, but let's zoom out. We still see the voltage drop. Now what should we check? I was really hoping this would be quick and it'd be a relay. It really was. But let's get into this diagram a little more and see what we can figure out here. We know we've got hot at all times coming into this relay, and it's coming out and feeding a couple fuses. Fuse F8, a 20 amp, and then of course we had that call out F, which is going to our other fuse. I don't remember which one it was. But what if the issue is inside the fuse box? We could check our power here at these fuses and see if the fuse is dropping voltage or not. If it's not, we got resistance in the circuit somewhere in the wire. So let me find the fuses and we'll get tapped into that and see where we're losing this voltage at. On the diagram, it shows that these coils get power from fuse 11, and it's one of these weird two-way fuses. You got power coming in the middle, and you get a fuse on the two sides of it. So I've got my little adapter here plugged in, tapped into the fuse side for 11. So let's see if we got good power here. Y'all should already see the scope rolling. I've got the ignition turned on. I was wanting to make sure that I had everything in the picture so you could see it here. So you can see our blue trace, that's the one we've moved to our fuse, showing 13 volts. Our green down here showing 13 volts. Let's wait till this next page and we'll give it a crank and see what happens to our blue trace. We're looking to see if our blue trace is dropping down or staying roughly battery voltage. That's what we're looking for. So here we go. So we do get a voltage drop, but that's fine. It's not doing what the green is. That's a typical voltage drop. I'm using my van to charge the battery while I'm doing this test. And you can see our voltage only dropped down to about 11.7 during crank. So I'm not concerned about that because it doesn't look like our green trace. Our green trace is the one that's got the issue. It's the power at the coils. So, not the relay, not the fuse. We've proved that now. It's got to be from the fuse box out. So let's go back over here to our diagram. So we got fuse 11, we've got a connector here, and then we've got this splice pack. So we got one connector, two connectors, and then a splice. That could be our potential issues. So I'm going to find this C1026. It's pin 1, wherever that thing is. It says front of engine, right hand. C10, what was it? I'm terrible at remembering things. C1026. And I always seems like I always take too long to find these things. Have I overlooked it? C1026. Oh, right here. So connector right here. That's on the belt drive side of the engine. The ECM connector's right here, so really close to the ECM connector. 1026, we're looking for pin 1, and it's a violet wire. So let's move a lead to that and see what we find. So here's the connector right here. I don't want to move it too much, but that's our purple wire. So we got power coming in, power going out over this direction. I'm going to use this lead here. Just gonna move it over here. Try not to disturb this too much in case the issue is in here. All right, so I got my wire set in. Let's turn the ignition on. And my green trace. Why is my green trace not up? I don't know if you guys noticed that or not, but let me turn this ignition back off. My yellow trace is a little... Did I pull the wrong wire out here? Let me look and see what I did. My green trace should be fine right here. So my yellow trace is at the connector. Green is still here at the coil. Of course, blue is still here. So everything is down at 0. I know y'all are not gonna be able to see this, but 0, basically 0. My scales are all kind of a little off, but everything's off. Let me turn this back on when this comes back on. This looked like it had a little slope to it. Yeah, you see that right there? It come up and dipped and come up. Let's pause this. My hands are getting cold. I guess I do have a little bit of that dip in my blue trace also, so maybe that's fine. Maybe that's not something I should worry about. But let's start this. Let's get rid of these rulers and stuff. I don't really need these phase rulers either. And let's crank this thing and see what happens. Now, we're looking for my yellow trace. Is my yellow trace gonna look like the green trace? Yes, it is. It does. So red, we can move that down here out of the way. We don't need a cam. But look at that. From the connector on the engine harness side, we've got this voltage drop. So let's actually now go to the other side of that connector and see if we have that voltage drop. What do I mean by that? Well, as I was showing you before, this connector, this side of it, should be coming from the fuse box over there, and this side is coming to the coils. So now I want to get in this side of it and see if we have that voltage drop. So I'm just going to move my green trace over here, trying to be easy and not disturb this too much. Let's see what happens with it now. Get the scope going again. Yeah, ignition is off. Let me wait till my page goes over to the next one. So yeah, we've still got this voltage drop. So that tells me the issue is from the fuse box to this connector. So on the diagram, from the fuse box to the connector, I can rule out this splice. This splice has no effect on it. This connector has no effect on it. It's from the connector here back to the fuse box. So maybe something to do with this connector. So that's my next place I need to inspect. On the diagram here, we've got our connector 1035A is right here. And we can see that this harness comes around this direction. So that should help figure this out, but I'm kind of concerned that I don't know if this is going to be in the top of the fuse box or in the bottom. There's two connectors in the top. See, I've got two in the top. I don't know if there's any in the bottom or not. Yeah, there is. There's some in the bottom down there. So you see this connector is running that direction. So I'm not sure if that's going to be the one or not. I bet it's going to be this down here, which is no good. I'd rather it be this one. This one would be easier to test at. Well, looking at the connector, I do think it is this one right here. But sadly, looking at this connector cover, I can't get this cover off with it latched. So I'm actually going to have to disturb this to get in here and see my wire, because I don't want to really split this harness up and stuff. I would rather just take the risk of messing something up here and see if something's happened. I don't see anything abnormal looking there. So let's get this off and we'll test from here and verify the issue is in between the wires, or is it going to be between the fuse in the connector here. So I got the cover off. I've moved my red trace over here. You can see the purple wire right here, violet wire, is, I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but right there. So just back probing that. Hopefully I've got my needle in there good. Let's turn the ignition on. Sorry about all these redneck trucks. So let's wait till this page goes over. We'll turn the ignition on. Okay, so yeah, I'm in there. Now, let's see what happens when we crank this thing. We'll go to the next page. Oh my goodness. I touched the connector and it's running. Got power steering, engine is on. I don't know if that's gonna focus, but it's working. So, disturbing the connector fixed the problem. So now we just need to verify pin tension. I didn't see any corrosion when I had it apart, so maybe we're gonna find maybe some pin tension or fretting, maybe. I don't know. Let's see if we can get a good look at it. Sucks that it fixed. I mean, that's great that it's fixed, but it sucks that it fixed, because it's probably not fixed. It's just temporarily fixed. So it would be that terminal right there, and it looks fine. I don't see, if it was fretting, it would have like some blackness to it, but it feels tight, so it doesn't feel loose in the board. There's probably a circuit board in here that can't really show you, but it feels tight. It doesn't feel loose. So now it was 4 down, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. It would be that one. I don't really see anything odd. Let me get my terminated leads. Try to get you guys set up here where I can kind of show this. So it was pin 17 is 4 down. This lead is actually, I think, a little too small. If I go to the one beside it, if I stick that in there, there is some drag to it, but not a lot. Let me go over here to one of these others. Same thing. There's some drag there, but not much. Let's go to our 17. There's no drag there, and I don't know if you can see this, but I can actually kind of twist it around. If I go in that one, I can kind of twist it, but it doesn't really move. This one, yeah. So we've got a loose terminal. I don't know if we can get this to fall out. Yeah, I don't have enough room to get this to hang and do the wiggle fallout, but if I can move it like that, that is definitely bad. See how I'm just pulling that out like that? If I don't lose my lead. If I go into this other terminal, You see how it's holding? It's not falling out. This one, we got a loose terminal. Let's see if we can get this terminal out now. I've never even looked at one of these connectors. I'm gonna say we gotta get the white piece out to get the locks undone. So just kind of, there's little holes to where we can get behind the white and kind of just give it a little pry. Yeah, so that's not too bad. Fingers are really starting to get a little chilly though. Now, just give it a little lift on the tension lock, and we can pull this thing out like so. Oh yeah, now we can kind of see. Let me zoom you in here. See how bad spread that thing is? There's like nothing there. Yeah. So let's give that a little tension. This one don't have a way to get behind the spring on the top side, but it does come through the side, so I can kind of just get in here with a back probe needle and get some tension back on that. Get a smaller needle to get in here a little better. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but you see this little flap right here? This is the springed side of it, and it was all the way back against this back side over here. So I've got in behind it and got it down some, but now I'm trying to just get a little extra tension. Some of these, you can get the needle up in here, get it pushed up, you can get to the back, basically, or to the front of this right here. If I can keep you guys centered in the camera here. You get up all the way to the front and kind of get it to tension really good. So let's see what happens when we stick our test lead in now. Oh yeah, yeah. Much better. We'll call this a fix. Let's put this back together. Make sure when you're putting these back in, you do hear a nice little click, and I just heard it. That's the little tension bar in here that locks in and grabs it. And then we gotta stick this piece back on to lock it in place. Gotta put the cover back on. Okay. Alright. And there we go. Still got my leads over there. I took all this stuff, put the original relay back in here, put the fuse back in here. So now I've only got yellow and green over there. And let's crank this thing. Just touching the brake actually turns that on. It wakes the PCM up enough to turn that on. And there we go. That is a fix. I was really hoping, I had my fingers crossed that just going to be a bad relay contact. I could make this a quick video. Yeah, joke's on me, right? But for all of you that's made it to the end, thanks for watching. Thanks for following the channel. I've had so many emails and messages from people, comments asking, how I'm doing, where I'm at, things like that. Just checking in on me. I really appreciate it. And hopefully you enjoyed this quick little video. I don't know how quick it's going to be now, but thanks for watching, everybody. And hopefully we'll see you again real soon.